Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more.
You're listening to The Man That Can Project with Lachlan Stuart, a global movement created to empower men and open up what's really going through their minds by having real and raw conversations about life's unique challenges and our individual ways of processing it all. Welcome to The Man That Can Project.
Yo-ho! Welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Project. My name's Lachlan Stuart and I am your host and the founder of the Man That Can Project. You know, I'm a men's performance coach and I'm really excited to have you guys here listening to the podcast, getting a heap of value, sharing the episodes with your mates who you know would get value from it. I always get men asking me, how can I help? How can I support my mates? And it's super simple, right? Share these episodes or share tools and resources or videos or anything that the Man That Can Project or my personal page that you get value, share with people that you know you would benefit from it. Because you guys are a part of helping me get this, my mission out there and making a bigger impact on a larger scale. And without you guys, it's not possible. So I appreciate everyone who takes the time to listen and who takes the time to share and speak highly about the Man That Can Project, because the more you guys do that, the more people that are going to hear about it and the more people that are going to get access to all these tools, perspectives, and insights. So thank you guys for your time. Enjoy this episode and we will chat to you shortly. Enjoy. So I want to talk about what to do when you're confused with your career, right? Or you're not necessarily sure on what you want to do with your life, right? You may be just going through the motions and wondering if you're ever going to find your purpose or your passion, right? It's something that I experienced for such a long period in time, right? After I sort of realized that the dream of becoming a professional athlete was not going to happen, was not going to continue to be a part of my life, I had to sit back for a moment and I had to start thinking about what was next, right? But I knew deep down in my gut I didn't want to go to university. I really didn't want to get a trade at that point in my life because I felt like for me, and the way I sort of, interpreted it coming out of school is if you did a trade was because you weren't smart enough to do anything else. I obviously changed my perspective on that now. It's an extremely handy skill to have and something that I'm qualified in. But during that period of time, I didn't know where to go, right? I was 22 years old. And even in the lead up until that point, I'd had so many different jobs, right? I'd done glassing, I'd done bartending, I'd done laboring, I'd done bricklaying, I'd done concreting, I'd done, what else had I done up until that point? Personal training. I was a delivery guy for a cafe on the coast. Like I'd done all these things and I always was okay with that until that point because I was like, well, this is just what I'm doing to get by until the sport takes off. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. And I really clung on to that idea that I was going to be something more than I currently was, right? I had ambition and I wanted to be more. And obviously when all of that sort of fell apart, or just, let's not say fell apart, let's just say when I realized that it wasn't going to happen, I was confused because I didn't know what was coming next. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there at the moment who are currently confused. There's so much opportunity for us, right? Or that you may be seeing people doing all kinds of things, whether it's through social media or you're catching up with mates and chatting to them. And it's just got you curious, thinking, all right, well, if I'm not fulfilled where I'm currently at in my life, wonder what if, that could work for me, or could that work for me, or would I find happiness over there, or would that pay me more money? Would that be better on my body long term, right? We think about all these things. And so obviously when confusion sort of starts to take over, the overwhelm and the anxiety comes along with it, and it makes it scary to make a decision, right? I know there's a lot of blokes out there, and the reason why a lot of us feel overwhelmed, or the reason why a lot of us feel anxious, is we're struggling to make a decision. We don't want to make the wrong decision. We don't or necessarily ask the right questions to get the information that we may need to make that decision. And as a result of that, we remain stuck. And we remain in that cycle that all of us, or a lot of us, go through, where it's just like, what if, or shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? That sort of idea of things. So I want to give you guys some tools and some perspectives and just ways of thinking that have helped me over the years, right? And for all of those who are worried about changing your career, there's probably a few phases that you need to look at with this, right? There's obviously phase one, where you don't really have much responsibility. You don't have a mortgage. You may not have a family. So there's not really a lot of risk if you are to change your career. Then we look at the next phase, right? So let's go phase one, single. Phase two, let's say relationship. And let's just make a third phase, just because we can. The third phase is where you have a family, and maybe let's throw a mortgage on top, just to make it really fun. Right. So obviously, phase one, right? There's lower risk. I just bloody got the microphone in my mouth. There's lower risk in that point in time. So I know for me, I've been very fortunate, even till right now, to be quite risk-free in the decisions that I've had to make. So I really want to be transparent about this. While I share what's worked well for me and what I believe in, I also want you to know that I don't have a mortgage and I don't have children to consider or anything like that. So it has been a lot easier for me to make these decisions. I will also give my perspective around potentially how you could look at it for those who are in that sort of phase three position with the family, with the mortgage, also, or for those who are in the phase two, where you're in maybe it's a medium to long-term relationship, and you definitely need to consider those things, right? So let's just sort of start with phase one first, right? And I'm just drawing this out as I go, just because I'm a visual person and I don't want to double up with what I'm saying. I don't want to give you too much. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to just bore you with the same stuff. So we look at phase one, right? Obviously, when we look at confusion with our career, there are things, and I want you to jot this down. What works for you might be lack of fulfillment, unfulfilled, as I mentioned. Then what about rough on the body? Might be negative environment. You might be bored, right? That can definitely also be one. I was all of those. Bored. All right. And you need to start thinking about, okay, because I know a lot of people who remain in that position because they just don't make a decision, right? And if you don't make a decision, and I have talked about this multiple times before, if you're not making a decision, you're never going to change anything, right? You're not going to find out what will work for you, and you're not going to find out what could have been. So if we look at that, and whatever it is for you, I just know for me, when I finished up the footy and when I was doing my carpentry apprenticeship, I was fucking unfulfilled. It was really hard on the body, okay, and it was a very negative environment, and I was bored. All things that I mentioned, probably there's a whole heap more, but I'm just going to use those because they relate to my story. And what happened, I was so disengaged, guys, that I was just merely doing enough to get by. And I was wondering why I was getting paid $22 something at the time. And I was wondering how I'm ever going to earn, the goal for me at that point in time was, how do I earn $1,000, right? I wanted to be able to buy nice things, do all this and do all that. And, as a chippy at that point in time, I was working from maybe 6 till 4 p.m. In the mornings I was doing PT as well, because I just wasn't earning enough to keep up with my, at that time, drug habits and drinking habits, to pay rent and just live as well. So I think about all that, and we started thinking, and this is where I went, well, right, for those who know the full extent of my story, I got into network marketing, right? And I'm not here to promote network marketing, you do as you want, but one thing that I sort of want to highlight at that, I was in phase one, I was single, and I needed something new. Right? I knew I didn't want to remain fulfilled. I knew I was here to create more than I was currently creating, and I wanted to create more than I was currently creating. So I understood that change was a part of that process, right? So for me, the decision to make some changes was simple. I didn't have to ask anyone. I didn't have to do anything. I just did. And as a result, I eventually got out of the building game because I started learning new skills. And one of the reasons why I really loved network marketing for that point in my life was it forced me to grow. I went to a lot of personal development events. I got to network with millionaires. I got to network with amazing salespeople. I got to travel and experience a lot of awesome things. I was learning how to run a business. I was learning sales. I was learning marketing. I was learning networking. I was learning to communicate better, right? I was learning all these things. Even though I wasn't aware specifically at the time how they would help me now, I was just so focused on wanting to build that business that I was just learning everything that someone told me. So little tip there for those who are wanting to start improving things, maybe definitely look into learning sales, marketing, how to communicate better. Okay, some good books. I'm looking at a few at the moment. How to Win Friends and Influence People, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What else have we got? I'll give you a few more later that you can start using to work on those, but you need to develop those skills, right? But ultimately, whatever sort of career you want to move into, if you're half curious about it, just do it, right? If you're at that point where you're in phase one, do it. Don't fucking wait, because as you get into phase two and phase three, there's more risk and there's more things to consider. So when you're in phase one, if you're not happy with where you're at, I would highly recommend changing it, right? And you can ask yourself two questions. One, what do I like or what do I feel I would like? Or two, what don't I like and what didn't I like about that? Because if you can answer those questions, you can start looking at things that maybe you do like. And consider, those 8 areas. What do you want your life to look like? Finances, flexibility, all of that sort of stuff with it. Definitely consider that. Okay? But that'll, it's a really good position to be in if you're not feeling good with your career. Secondly, we look at that phase two, right? You may be in a long-term relationship, so you have to consider certain things, right? For me now to say, oh, okay, I want to move back over to France and play footy again, I have to consider that because I'm now engaged, right? You're in that long-term relationship. You can't just pack up and go. There's more weighing on it, right, in the decision. So it's not just my decision now. And what that then leads us to really think about is, in order to find that fulfillment, what's missing, right? What do I need to do and what conversations need to be had so that I can really start to work out what it is that I want for my life and I guess where my purpose is or what I'm passionate about throughout this career, right? Phase two, and then we look at phase three, the family and marriage. Obviously, when you've got to consider feeding kids and paying a mortgage, you can't just chop and change all the time. Maybe you need to consider a certain income, maybe flexibility, work hours, travel time, all of those sorts of things that really play in on that role, right? For me, one of the things that I always kept in mind with when I was building the Man That Can project and my career was that I wanted to have the opportunity when I have kids to be able to stay home and have the day with them if that's what I wanted. I didn't want to have to be locked in to go anywhere or controlled by someone else, right? That was a huge driving force behind why I decided to start my own business and why I've created it to where it is now, and while I continue to keep growing it the way that it's going, because I kept that in mind with, ultimately how I wanted to live my lifestyle. So guys, when you're thinking about your careers, always keep those 8 areas in mind. I can't stress it enough. That what kind of lifestyle do you want it to allow you to live, the finances, what kind of people do you want to be working with, do you want to have access to hanging out with your mates still, all of those things. Because if we neglect that, guys, what are we doing it for? For most people, a lot of the reason why what drives us is what the money and the recognition gives us. It makes us feel loved and it makes us feel connected, and we get freedom of choice. right? The choice to do what we want and what we please. And some people are never going to be or don't want to run their own business, or never be the kind of person to run their own business. And others will be the person who never want to be employed, and others will just sort of float in and out. And that's completely okay. All of those are completely okay. As long as you're, finding something that's fulfilling, it's allowing you to get what you want out of it, and you get home at the end of the day going, that was worth it. Right? And no one can make that decision for you. But I wanted to share those sort of 3 phases with you, because it does get more challenging. It does get more difficult to make those decisions. And ultimately the quality of your decisions is ultimately what determines the outcome of your life and what you're wanting to do. So for those of you who are single right now, make the most of what you've got, right? Because things will change. And if you're confused and not happy, start trying different things, right? Because now is the time there is limited risk for you. And ultimately, for you to grow into the man that you want to be, to have the relationships that you want and the quality of life that you want, you've got to try different things, right? Like I've mentioned multiple times, I've had that many jobs. And even when I left the network marketing after, I think, 4 years, and went into Uber driving, went back into personal training, then went into obviously coaching. What else did I do? I went direct sales, marketing, sales. I did all these things, and it wasn't actually until I read Rich Dad Poor Dad back in probably 16 or 17 that I was like, all right, I'm going to be intentional. Then every job that I take until I find what I truly want to do is got to teach me a skill, right? Something that's going to be beneficial for me to take control of my life. So if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'd highly recommend reading it to get some tips and tricks on that as well. But if you want to gain clarity around your career and find your purpose, start asking yourself better questions, start making more decisions, using the feedback from the outcomes of those decisions to guide you in the right direction. It doesn't need to be more complicated, guys, but if you're not going to make those decisions, you're not going to ultimately get to the career choice that you want. I see too many people who are stuck in a career and they use the excuse of time, or the economy, or people aren't hiring, or COVID's happening. All these reasons, which, they can be reasons if you validate it, but if you want to go and try hard enough to change things, you can change it. Because I know a lot of people who are doing the complete fucking opposite. And I'm sitting there going, it's interesting that you say that, because I had a meeting with someone yesterday and they said the complete opposite. So start thinking about, what you need to do to gain more clarity around your career, what you need to do to gain more clarity around who you want to be as a man and the life that you want to create for yourself. Because I know the best thing that I ever did was make that commitment. And obviously, like I said, was to network marketing back in 2014. I made the commitment that I wanted to change. I saw people speaking on stage. I was like, I want to be speaking on those stages. I saw the people earning great money, for what I considered great money at that time. And I was like, I want to be earning that money. I saw people running webinars. I saw people running groups. I saw people just building a business and learning to invest. I saw people networking and improving all these skills that I've since really put a lot of time and energy into. I just was committed, and I made the time to do it. So guys, if you're not making the time to really gain clarity around your career, if not now, when? And I know that's fucking cliche, but seriously, if you don't start giving yourself some answers or start upskilling so that you can make a smooth transition, when are you going to do it? Stop using time, stop using money as a reason why you can't. We need to find out the reasons why you can, or ask yourself, how can I achieve this? And get to fucking work. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you can answer some of those questions for yourself to gain a little bit more clarity around your career. Don't sit there and go, it's not that easy, because I've been exactly where you've been. And yeah, I agree. It's not that easy, but it's sure as shit more exciting when you start doing something different and learn to find things that you like. And what you move into and may like for a little moment in time may eventually change. So be okay with that. Now, guys, if you haven't already joined the free Facebook group yet, make sure you jump in, join it. We've been averaging like 30 to 35 new members every week at the moment from all around the world, and it's great to hear more about them, some random facts about them, what they're looking to, or which area they're looking to learn and grow so that they can continue being the best version of themselves. And please, man, please share this with someone that you know you would would get immense value from it. I appreciate you guys listening, and until the next episode, have a great time. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.